Welcome once again to Breakfast Central. 27 legislators in the Rivers State House of Assembly have withdrawn their impeachment notice that was previously sent to Governor Siminalayi Fubara. The lawmakers, of course, led by Martin Amaewhule, officially began their sessions in the state capital of Port Harcourt yesterday.
The notice of the withdrawal was contained in a letter signed by the 27 and read out by their speaker, Martin Amaewhule. They gathered solely to focus on the withdrawal of the impeachment notice against Fubara during their deliberations.
Now, this follows a meeting between President Bola Tinubu and the warring parties in the Aso Villa in Abuja on Monday.
Like dated 20th day of December 2023. The riots Honorable Martin Chiki, DSSRS, Speaker, Rivers State House of Assembly, House of Assembly quarters, Port Harcourt. Mr. Speaker, withdrawal notice of impeachment of His Excellency Sir Siminalayi Fubara, GSSRS, Governor of Rivers State. Kindly be informed of the decision of the undersigned honorable members of this House to withdraw the notice of impeachment of His Excellency Sir Siminalayi Fubara, GSSRS, Governor of Rivers State. Pursuant to Section 188 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as altered, dated 30th October.
All right, there is the speaker for the lawmakers. And now these defecting lawmakers have also maintained that there's no going back to the PDP as they are committed to supporting President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda. We're not quite sure how this works, but joining us to discuss this further is Dr. Victor Okhai. He's a political and public affairs analyst. Good morning and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning and thank you for having me.
Well, welcome to Nigeria and the drama that's going on in Rivers State. Now, I think, first of all, how does it really work that they've vacated their seats on the party that brought them into this position, and now they're saying they're not going back to PDP? How does it sound to you? What is this saying to you, Dr. Okhai?
I think it just displays their weakness and their vulnerability, or I don't know how else to put it, but truth is they have burnt their bargaining chips. They have no bargaining chips anymore, and they're just blowing hot. The PDP would not admit them, clearly. They can't go back to it. And the issue of withdrawing impeachment notice, they're not even in a position to withdraw anything anymore because they're no longer, having vacated their seats when the party was not obviously divided, they have lost their seats. So they're not even in a position to say that they're withdrawing any impeachment notice because in the first place, they are not in a position to even effect it anymore. So I don't know. It's left for the governor to decide whether or not he wants to listen to them, to admit them, and to bring him. And obviously, they have declared also where their loyalty lie, and clearly it's not to him or to the party that he belongs to. So, which means that if they come back, if they're admitted, and if they decide to impeach him tomorrow, there's nothing he can do about it. They have the numbers, So it's the way I see it, but it's up to the governor. It's a political game, chess game. He'll play it the way he wants, and so that's my opinion.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to understand what they mean by they are pledging their loyalties to, the president and to the APC and to the new administration by moving to the APC. Is it possible that they are not aware that they would lose their seats in the State House if they do that, or is there a loophole, that we may not be seeing that they hope that they can bypass with being able to effect the APC?
They're thinking that the piece of paper they signed has any weight. The truth is that paper is worthless. It has no basis in law. It's not enforceable. The agreement is unconstitutional, so it cannot even stand. They're relying on federal might, but I can tell you this, the president is smart. He knows when to fight and when to run, and the Rivers case is a very delicate one. You can't play that game anywhere else. But if you try any game in Rivers and these boys go back to the trenches and start building pipelines, honestly, the government will be crippled. And I don't think that the president wants that on his hands right now. And that threat is very real. We have heard Dokubo, we've heard Dokubo, we've heard Edwin Clark, who is not even from Rivers State, but he's an Ijaw from Delta State. And these guys are not joking.
Is it not maybe expected of the president at this point to step in and right this wrong like he did or he attempted to do when he stepped in and called the warring factions to a meeting in Abuja? Because for them to understand that what they're doing is unconstitutional, people voted you, and in the course of voting you to serve as their representatives, they saw political parties. Nobody's name was on the ballot paper. It is the political parties that's on the ballot paper. So people, affix their thumbprints to these political parties. So if you say that these political parties that people voted for no longer matter, it no longer matters to you that they voted you on the premise of that party, and you're moving to another party to support the president, should we expect that maybe that at this point the president should step in again to clarify and let them know that it's not within their power to do that, and maybe his initial actions had misled them to thinking he had the powers that he could usurp authority that wasn't rightfully his or that isn't rightfully his?
Now let me explain the Rivers situation in a way that probably nobody has ever explained on television since this crisis started. You know that under our laws, whoever owns the land owns the building on the land. If I have a property and you go and put on a 100-story building on it, there are no sentiments. You either pull down your building or the building belongs to me. I'm not even compelled to give you 1 naira in compensation for that building. That is a law. Now, however, as usually happens, you might find elders who will come and want to bring in sentiments and say, he has encroached on your land. We know that the land is yours. We know he should not have done it. However, you can see that he has spent so much money on it. And so what do you do now? Okay, why don't you just let him compensate you, for the land, just pay you something for the land. You can't destroy this building. It will not be fair and all that. All that is cheap sentiment. Now, as the owner of the land, you have an option to either agree or say to them, go to hell. Because there's no court matter in this matter. You go to court, you cannot win unless the kangaroo judgment. As long as you have your papers and you know that the land rightfully belongs to you, any encroacher is just enriching your land. Now, what happened in Abuja is a case where the Constitution clearly favors the governor, and the actions of these people is clearly unconstitutional and it's very wrong. The president realizes it, but he has come in the position of, I hope he does, he has come in the position of, like you would say, elders come and say, okay, please, we know that they have done the wrong thing, but please now just allow them. Let bygones be bygones, just hoping that this person in his good nature will say, okay, no problem, I forgive you. You can have the land free of charge or just pay the token and continue using you can take possession. So, but if you say no, it is no. And that's what the governor needs to understand. If he says no, nobody can shake him. These people are hoping that the president will use federal might. I think the president is smarter than that. I don't think he needs any negative publicity right now. They are hoping that they will begin to arrest people, begin to intimidate people, begin to harass people, use the government to, force people on their knees. That's not going to happen. If they are hoping for that, I think the president, I will keep repeating, is smarter than that. It is for this matter is for Fubara to lose. Clearly, Wike has shown him what power he has. He never realized it, but Wike pushed him to a point where he now realizes, Wike may not even have the power that he says he has anymore. And the reason is simply this. If you're a landlord, you have a case with your tenant, There's such a thing known as status quo ante. If the tenant is in the house when the case went to court, the current tenant will continue to remain in the house till it is resolved. But if you can manage to kick him out when the case went to court, it is status quo ante. Oga, stay outside and fight your case. If you win, you come back to the house. Landlord, so right now, they have been kicked out. And they are fighting from outside. Wike is fighting from outside. He does not have the power he had in Rivers anymore. He does not have the full loyalty that he had when he was fully in charge in Rivers anymore. The person in charge right now is Fubara. And I think Fubara, although he did not understand what powers he had, is beginning to realize it because he has seen that he has a backing of his people right now and of the Rivers people. And they are saying to Wike, enough is enough. So that's the situation. Wike may exercise power in the Federal Capital Territory. He may still have loyalists in Rivers, but I don't, and that's a miscalculation of those lawmakers. They thought, he was still as influential. But I can assure you, having left government like that tenant, being out in the cold, he cannot command the same kind of powers that he used to anymore,
Right.
although he thinks he does.
Mr. Okhai, I want us to also, look further into the narrative that, there's no way to verify this, at least for now, but the narrative that Nyesom Wike handpicked those who would serve in Sim Fubara's government, his commissioners, his House of Assembly members, some people even say even his ADC was handpicked by Nyesom Wike. Talk a little bit, about how possible these things are, and the depth of godfatherism that we're seeing here in 2023, if these things are true.
These things are very possible, and they happen every day. It's not even the one in Rivers is not even a secret. It is obvious. It's open. Nobody is denying it. I don't think Wike has denied it. Neither has Fubara denied it. Which is why you can see those people who were handpicked, acting under the instruction of their principal and resigning clearly. These things happen. Their loyalty is elsewhere, not to him. When people want to install a person in power, they surround him with their own people so that they will be their ears and their eyes in government, and they will also ensure that everything goes according to their plan. So that is very likely the case. But I think Fubara would want to be a man of his own. Now, those who have resigned, I think he will be foolish to admit them back. It is his time now to say, okay, look, let me get my own people. And I think that's what's beginning to happen. He may be politically naive, but he's surrounded by political hawks who are now advising him and who are now, giving him the courage to stand up against his erstwhile godfather.
All right. And for me, I think on a final note, it would be, how do you see the president's intervention and Fubara's agreement to the deal that has been proffered? Would you say that it has made things better, or it will make things better, or do you think that it has worsened the situation?
Well, I can tell you this, that first, the president's I don't want to say interference or intervention, is good. And I think it's in good faith because people have asked him to intervene. He's the father of the nation. He should be to everyone. And wherever there's a problem, it's a problem to all. So that is also in good faith. And he did the right thing by bringing elders to come. And one thing you must know is that no one says no to a king. If you've never been before royalty before, you may not understand. When you are brought before the president, it doesn't matter who you are. It's difficult to say no. And so at that point, Fubara would just be looking at His Excellency and be saying, okay. But what smart negotiators would do is say, okay, fine, let me go back to my people. But obviously they extracted that, like you would in a police station confession, extracted that agreement at that point without an opportunity for feedback from the people whom this agreement will affect. That's why I feel that agreement is, apart from the fact that it's unconstitutional, it's just an ordinary piece of paper that is not worth its weight in gold. It's not worth its its weight. He has gone there. They have signed papers. But going back, the Rivers people will say to him, "Sorry, we do not agree with that." And he represents the people, not the federal government. He does not represent himself. So having gone back, the people will say to him, "Sorry, no, we do not agree." And that's what it is. He can renege on that agreement on the basis of its unconstitutionality. There is nothing like gentleman about it, but it's not constitutional. It's not out of disrespect for the president, but simply because even the negotiation process itself flawed ab initio. You don't conclude a negotiation in one sitting, and you don't force signatures. If you do that, then obviously people will just like you have been coerced into doing it without necessarily being given time to. Consultation is critical, especially when there are other stakeholders involved. There are elders brought in, but that's not enough. The people voted for Fubara. The people decide what Fubara does.
Yeah. Victor Okhai, thank you very much for speaking with us this morning. Interesting turn of events in River State, and we would see how things eventually play out in the next couple of days as we wrap up the year. Thanks for your time once again.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.